How painful would it feel if you waved a happy goodbye to your loved one, hoping you are gonna see them again soon, without realizing that this might be the last time you are seeing them alive? This is exactly what has happened to the three families of Tulsa when they sent their daughters to the Scott camp in 1977. Hello mysterious family and welcome back to Mysterious Mariam. I am Mariam AHSAN. Today we are gonna go through one of the most haunting and disturbing case I have ever came across. We are gonna talk about the atrocious crime that is still haunting Oklahoma till date. So if you are someone interested in true crime, strange and real life mysteries, do consider subscribing my channel and share the video with your friends and family, because that's exactly we are gonna do on this channel. Before we get deep into today's case, let me put forward a fair warning that today's video is gonna include theme of murder and sexual abuse of minors, so viewer discretion is advised. This video is going to be a two-parter as details in this case are very important and amazing. Part 2 will be up next week inshallah. So make sure that you have turned on all the notifications so you get notified as soon as the video get uploaded. Let's get into today's case. So around 2 or less than 2 months before, that's around April of 1977, at Camp Scott in Oklahoma, one of the counselors, when returned to their tents after training session, found their camp ransacked with few things misplaced and only one thing missing: donuts. Donuts which all the counselors had to share that day. The empty donut box was still there, but there was a note in it stating, "We are on a mission to kill 3 girls in tent 1. Well, it was 1970s, the times which were way more safer than they are today, and with the disappearance of few donuts, the counselor thought of it as some kind of a joke or a prank and decided not to notify further authorities. Unfortunately, this was first of the string of mistakes that resulted in the murders that seem like coming straight from a horror movie. On June 12, 1977, around 140 girls arrived at the campsite down a dirt road lined with looming trees and 400 acres of dense wood in Mayors County, Oklahoma, US. These 140 girls qualified to be the part of Camp Scott by achieving the target of selling required number of Camp Scott cookies. All tents were set up, and with few organized activities, Camp Scott had to drop down their evening activities due to heavy rain. All the girls were sent to their tent after dinner. In Kiowa unit, there was a counselor camp, a shower in front of the counselor tent, and 8 Girl Scout tents in the form of a semicircle. Counselor's tent view was obstructed by the shower from tent number 8, which is a very important detail to remember. Each tent was assigned to 4 different girls except for tent number 8, which was assigned to 3 girls: 8 years old Lori Lee Farmer, 9 years old Michele Heather Guse, and 10 years old Doris Denise Milner. A 4th girl who had to shift in their tent that night, but due to heavy storm, her shifting was postponed to the next day. Talking about the tents the girls were living in, these were not like regular tents, but a wooden platform with 4 cots and a large flap serving as a door, like anyone could remove the flap and enter any tent they want. The trail that was connecting Kiowa unit to the whole camp is known as Cookies Trail, was leading to the back gate of the camp, and a side gate too was near Kiowa unit, even though these gates were locked, but they were left completely unguarded. And it's not like these were some huge gates which could keep anyone out. These were just small gates that anyone could climb up and get into the camp. And guess what? There was not even any fence around the perimeter of the camp. Can you imagine sending your daughters to a place with such poor security arrangements? Absolutely not. Now, there is no way we can justify Camp Scott organizers' mistake here, but those times were different than they are today. They were successfully conducting these summer camps for the last 50 years, and nothing of this brutality ever happened. I think these are the mistakes we have learned from to be where we are today. Anyways, back to the story. 3 girls in tent number 8 wrote letters to home as they had no other activity to do that night. I have attached those letters on screen. You can pause the video and read them if you want, because sadly these are gonna be the last words from these girls to their parents. Lori Lee Farmer, youngest of the 3, had two options that summer to participate in some camping activities, but her mother preferred Camp Scott over the other option. The decision, she said, have haunted her all her life. MICHELE HEATHER GUSE had participated in the same Camp Scott last year as well. She loved her plants and advised her mother to water them while leaving the house to go to Camp Scott. African lilies, her mother said, were her favorite. Doris Denise Milner, oldest of the three, was recently accepted into a prestigious school for exceptional students. She was not very happy about coming to the camp. She even cried on her way to the camp because she was a very shy, introvert kind of a person, and her mother wanted her to go out there, gain some confidence, get more social. She even wrote in her letter that she wanted to go back home to play with her little sister. So after writing these letters, the girls gathered for a story time where Denise, crying, asked her unit counselor to call her home because she was feeling sad. But the counselor comforted her and they both came to an agreement that Denise will call her mom in the morning. So after this storytelling session, the girls went to their bed to sleep. The camp was buzzed up with all the campers excited on their first night outside of the house. As the first day of camp was ending, a counselor in Comanche unit noticed a movement in dense forest in the darkness. She saw a dim light moving towards Kiowa unit. I don't know why she ignored that, but obviously this was an addition to the string of mistakes. Around midnight, one of the counselor, Carla Wilhite, woke up by some gigglings near the latrine. She woke up, went outside and sent girls to their tent. Then around 1:30 in the night, she woke up again with the gigglings coming from tent number 6. She stood at the door of her tent, shone the flashlight towards tent number 6 to hush them up. Carla, with a fellow counselor, moved toward tent number 6 to quiet down the girls. After that, they started going back to her tent when they heard a low guttural sound and a moaning coming from the dense trees. She shone her light in that direction and the noise stopped. Considering it some animal, they turned back to go to their tent when noises started again. So she shone her light in that direction again, and the sound stopped. Without thinking much, Carla and her fellow went back to their camp to sleep. While trying to sleep, they were still hearing the sound, but they didn't do much about it. Again, these mistakes can never be justified, but it is not like these counselors were some wise, brave, 30-year-old women. They were hardly between 17 to 20 years old young girls. They too must have been afraid going to the wood at that time of the night, but at least they could have informed the security or the camp director, who too was present in the camp. Around the same time, a camper in tent number 7 saw a man with a flashlight in his hand coming towards their camp. He picked up their tent's flap. Standing at their door, he shone the light in their tent, and within a few seconds, he moved away, closing the flap behind him. One camper informed about hearing a scream that night, and another one heard someone crying for their mommy. The crazy, stormy night ended. Around 6 next morning, Carla went out to take a shower when she spotted a sleeping bag a little far away from her tent. To inspect, she moved closer to the sleeping bags and realized that there was in fact 3 sleeping bags laying there. 2 of them were zipped closed and a third one was open with the body of Denise Milner. She did not open rest of the 2 sleeping bags as she didn't find the courage to do so. She immediately informed camp director and police was immediately called. Around 8 a.m., police arrived at the gruesome scene and started investigating. The other 2 zipped bags had the bodies of Lori Farmer and Michele Guse. Around 10 a.m., without any explanation to the campers, they were evacuated and Camp Scott, working successfully from 1920s, would never reopen again ever. Parents were informed that there had been an accident on the camp and they had to pick up their daughters from Tulsa, and no one knew whose daughter got got into the accident. What a hard drop it would be for the parents of 3 daughters not seeing them getting off of the bus. The case was assigned to Mayes County Sheriff Glenn Weaver along the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation (OSBI). Several pieces of evidence were found from the crime scene, but this was not the only crime scene. So what were these evidences, and what was the other crime scene, and how this investigation went, who was named as a suspect, and who actually killed these girls, and how the killer has been identified just recently, 45 years later? You will have to wait for the next video to find that out. So this is where I am gonna end part 1. Make sure to binge in for part 2 next week. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications. And I will see you next week. Bye.